Hey Margaret,
Hi, Stephanie.
it's your first day back. You were out 12 days on the road.
Yeah.
You went to Washington D.C. For HR919, and then you went to Chicago for the ABA. Tell me a little bit about those.
Yeah. It was a good trip. It was a long one, but progress for this type of stuff is just about slow determination. So you asked about ABA, that's the American Burn Association. I think it was their 50th anniversary in Chicago. It's all the burn surgeons, firefighters come, physical therapists and occupational therapists, all the different people that have to handle these severe burn injuries.
How large is that conference?
Gosh, it's a great question.
Like 3,000?
No, I think it's less than 1,000 would be my gut, but
Okay.
I don't know for sure.
Okay.
But it's a small, focused group of people that have direct, hands-on exposure and experience. And they, ABA. Let me kind of give you my perspective on burn surgeons. I think there's 3 things that they have to do. Number 1, it has to be about life-saving, limb salvaging, and then after that comes organ resuscitation. So that's what means we need that level of acuity, that level of complex multi-organ system coordination. So, we want to stop some of those real severe burns that are happening. So that was ABA, and I got to learn a lot. There's a lot going on in their research areas that I would love to know more. Amazing people working on prevention. There's a lot going on with very thoughtfully considered research. So that was ABA in Chicago. And then it's in Washington, D.C., that's HR919, and that is just the place I've got to stay plugging. We've got to stop all these vapor explosions, all of these flashback burn injuries. I'm going to use this as an example because I'm here at Berkeley Engineering Research. That's where you and I know each other. You guys are gracious and give me a place to learn and work and try to get smart, because you do so much here with all the PhDs and stuff here to do failure modes, effects, and analysis, FMEA. My understanding from you guys is what happens is anytime you've got the air vapor explosion or air vapor mixture with a headspace, when you tip to pour it, you're going to have all sorts of, we've seen those vapors swirl. If any ignition source gets close to it, the bottle will suck it inside of it, and then it will explode and it will shoot out the burning liquid. We call that the flamethrower effect. This is all about the laws of physics. That invisible wick, that vapor is an invisible wick, so it's always going to explode it, suck it in, explode it back out. So we want to put the vapor safety guard back in place. That's called a flame arrestor.
And is that what HR919 is?
Yeah, sure is. I'm going to grab a couple examples just to show you. HR919 says, hey, we've got to make sure that we're making it safe for consumers. Right now, we know that the Department of Defense requires flame arrestors and everything for the military. DoD requires them. We know that OSHA requires it for employees. We don't understand why CPSC is not requiring it for consumers. And the other ones that are really being hurt and unprotected are students in schools. The teachers are employees and they're covered. Students are not. So we don't mandate it, and we should be protecting everybody. Consumers have the least amount of training and they're most at risk, yet everybody in an employee setting or in the military setting, they're given the benefits of a safety guard because these have been around for 200 years. So this is a replica. I just got this today. This is my welcome back present that I found on my desk. Thank you, whoever put this on my desk. This is one of the Davy lamps from 200 years ago. And he found by just putting what he called was a wire mesh, a flame trap, that the methane gas going down into a cave to get the coal out of those mines, you would not have any of these vapor explosions that would blow out the mine and hurt people for life and limb. So simply putting this mesh screen is what they found out 200 years ago. And believe it or not, Davy didn't want to patent it because he thought safety was too important. So I think that's kind of a cool thing we all remember. That's why his product is still around. So I also, in my own simplicity, wanted to create something to get my head around it. This is just something out of one of my cupboards in my kitchen. I put some screening in there. This is a flame arrestor. I want to explain something about these because a flame arrestor, or used to call them a flame trap, they used to call it a quenching device. This will arrest or stop a flame. So you can pour, liquid can come out, but the ignitable vapors cannot flash back inside of it. Here in the lab, everybody calls them an ICE. ICE stands for internal container explosion. So we want to get the liquids to pour safely. We want consumers to use the product normally and regularly. We want the safety guard put back on. So if they've been around on things that we cooked with, heated with, and used for lighting for 200 years, why in 2002, as we went to more common household products, we got away from the risks and the knowledge, why did we decide it was okay to take the flame arrestor off? So that's where HR919 comes in. I know you have some great questions about it. I'd love to answer some of your questions. You're always saying you're going to hit me up with somebody, so you're doing me a huge favor. Ask me any questions you can and allow me to answer.
I'm just surprised with all these new biofuels on the market, and they're marketing directly to consumers.
Yeah.
And again, consumers are the least aware of the safety of products. And I would say most consumers know nothing about a flame arrestor, simply because they stopped using them. I know when I was younger, we used them, and that they took them off.
Yeah.
Taking them off and then actively ramping up selling products to consumers without them knowing the risks, I just think it's deplorable.
It is deplorable. It's a great word. It's a multifaceted word. Ethically, morally, how could anybody with any engineering background allow this to occur? You know, professional ethics should be number one here. It's simple. In 200 years, we've never had a case where this has failed. In fact, I'm going to buzz through something and just show you really quickly and really easily how this works. I know that if I skip over a lot of this stuff, where the real problem comes in is right now it's a voluntary standard. That's where the problem is. Voluntary standard means that for the last 200 years, some companies could use them and some didn't, and they don't have to. When they took it off and they resubmitted to the FEC and they claimed that there was no functional difference when they took that off, I don't understand how they got away with that. So I think we've got a real problem, and somebody should look in and investigate that problem, because you turn the product from a common household product into an extreme hazard. Why wasn't that hazard identified and rectified immediately and said, you need to put this back on? I don't know if you can tell briefly, but I'm going to show you a couple things to make it super direct. This is a flamethrower, or excuse me, a flame arrestor. Let me get my computer to come up. My computer's a little tired, it's been on the road with me. So this is a flame arrestor, goes in the nozzle. Here's the one I was showing you that I made. It can go in anything that's plastic, metal, or glass. I want to be clear because there's a lot of junk out there. These can be out of plastic, these can be out of metal, can go into a plastic product, a metal product, or glass products. All work. Here's how I know that. I am going to buzz you through some of the things that show you, like, look, these have been around, right? We had them in our gas cans. This is from the 80s. Scepter is a big company. They're headquartered out of Canada. Scepter is the #1 manufacturer of gas cans, and even in their own product materials, they called it the anti-flash screen spout. So it makes pouring safe. Here they are having the ability to tell us that they make it safe, yet they took it off their products. Bacardi in '89 knew that they had some problems with bartenders doing flaming shot drinks, and so they put it on there just to protect consumers, and I don't think we need them on our distilled products. That's not where our real hazards are coming from. So here's a whole bunch of commercially available products. I just want you to see these have been around for a couple hundred years. This is a glass bottle. Here's plastic. I've shown you some metal containers. This is metal, metal, plastic, right? Plastic, metal. I want you to know that there's a lot of bad junk information. So I'm trying to get to that question you're really asking. Like, if we had them on here back in the Davy lamp, and we patented it in 1871, 1881, 1929, they came out with a patent. You know, here they are in 73, this is an Eagle gas can, which is made by Scepter. 1980, this is another Scepter one. Here's a Rubbermaid one, Briggs & Stratton, and here's a new one that just came out, and I really want people to pay attention to no spill. You can buy this safe version today on the market. Go to Amazon, go to your local, tractor, home, farm store, I think I saw it at, so please keep those ones in mind. We've got an ASTM committee. This committee has had a lot of problems. They put this together in 2007 because they knew in 2002 they were having problems that should have been corrected immediately. 2007, they came up with some definitions and rationales, and you know what? I think this is an example of regulatory capture. This is a captured agency. We have this problem going on in schools. I want to skip that for now. It's not my highest priority. I want you to know my data comes from NFPA, 454 civilian deaths, 3,910. That was averaged over 3 years, and 1.5 billion of direct property damage. So if there's one thing I can say from my heart, I would ask anybody that knows anybody in the insurance industry to do me a favor. Add one sentence to every contract and this problem will be taken care of. I want one sentence on every liability insurance contract that says must have a flame arrestor. That's it, must have a flame arrestor. We don't have to write pages and documents, and I'm anti-regulation. I don't think it's a good thing to create regulations where they're not needed. Let's put common sense back in. I'm gonna skip over some things. I want you to know, unfortunately, this is what I looked like after having grabbed somebody in my own family that had been burning alive. So this is me sitting in a burn unit. Those are my clothes covered in what I thought was soot. Turns out that is burnt skin. That's flesh. That's the smell I couldn't get away from. I wore that shirt for 3 days before I was told what was going on. And I mean, I'd take a shower and I'd sleep at night and I'd get up and run around all day. And that's just what stayed on my clothing for 3 days. So you can imagine what it looked like in the beginning. I want to kind of mention something we got going on that's a problem. The Portable Fuel Container Manufacturing Association has put out some junk information. I think it's time we really took a hard look at this. They're saying there's currently no flame arrestor technology in the marketplace or in concept phase that has proven safe and effective. So I want you to know that doesn't make sense to me. I'm just going to come straight out and say, look, if the American Standards and Testing Materials has a different thing, let's look at that. What do they say? Here's the ASTM's rationale. It says flame arrestor task group and outside researchers all agree, flame arrestor will reduce and virtually eliminate flashback explosions in portable gasoline containers, just as they have already in alcohol and charcoal lighter fluid containers. In fact, no portable gas container with a functioning flame arrestor has been found to have experienced a flashback explosion in the container. No documented cases in 200 years. That comes from our committee. Why can't this committee that was formed in 2007 get this out? Why can't a draft come out? Why can't we protect the public? These are such great questions. I've already proven to people that these flame arrestors only cost a couple pennies. I used deductive and inductive reasoning. I went through court documents. I showed what money they saved when they took them off. I showed some manufacturing research about what it would cost to put them on. Mm-hmm. Let's just get to the real facts here. It never fails. It works every time. We require it for DOD. We require it for OSHA. Let's stop burning the children and families. There's 4,000 moms like me. I meet a couple hundred a year. How do I explain to them that we can't get this done? There's no financial reason, there's no science reason, and there's no moral reason. Why can't we get this done? There must be something else that's wrong.
So how can they
Let's look
directly,
at what's wrong.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm going to go to that because I think this is where we're going to look at what is being said by this committee. I'm going to skip past some of these things because I've got one that I want to get to that I think makes it straightforward. So if we've got the ASTM committee saying it's always worked, virtually eliminates it, why does the manufacturer, portable fuel container manufacturer, saying that as they're manufactured today, they're entirely safe when used properly? No, they're not. You tip it to pour it, it's Russian roulette. At any time it comes into contact, any of that vapor gets near an ignition source, and it will turn into an IED. So let me tell you why I'm getting renewed energy. We've got guys that are in the war. They come back home there to barbecue, and this happens in their backyard. We've got grandmothers at a church social, and the chafing dish is being refueled, and the grandmother gets covered in exploding flaming liquid. We've got a manufacturing association that has said that it's not actually safe. How can they say that when the committee is saying it works every time? So let me see if I can narrow this down and help you to see where we've got one link between these two. We've got the person that's ahead. This is the ASTM. He's chaired. His name's Phil Monkton. M-O-N-C-K-T-O-N. Phil Monkton is from Scepter. That's that company I showed you that had him on their products and took it off. Phil is the vice president of that company, and he's the #1 guy. He's also the chair of the committee. So he's in charge of the ASTM committee that says it will virtually eliminate it. He's also the president of the Manufacturing Association that's trying to tell you things like a flame arrestor and portable fuel container, no flame mitigation device has been proven to work. Just the opposite, right? That's patently false. No flame arrestor has been shown to fail. Now, a flame mitigation device, that's sort of like, I don't like that term for one reason. Flame mitigation device is like, we want to mitigate the problem, make it smaller and less risky. A flame arrestor, absolute. Stop the flame. Arrest the flame. Arrest it. Stop it. I want this to just be what it is. Don't put out a fancy flame mitigation device and make the general public think you've made their gas cans safer. I don't agree. I think we've made our gas cans completely unsafe. We have way more gas can injuries. In fact, the data I've gotten from NIST, the National Electronic Information, we had 18,000 gasoline-only burns last year. 18,000 burn injuries from gas cans. That's just gas. Well, if we took the flame arrestor off the gas can, do you think we have a lot of problems when it's the fireman fighting on the front line and he has to refuel his chainsaw? We're letting the firemen get burned up. When we've got guys coming back from war and they're fixing up an F whatever it was in San Diego, 4 or 5 guys end up at UC San Diego burn unit. We've got an off-duty police officer in Florida, Super Bowl Sunday. He had 95% burns. We had a single mom with 5 beautiful, amazing daughters on Christmas night end up with one of these burn injuries, and she's no longer with us. I mean, this is not about a product that's not been proven to work. This is a situation where we've got one person who has 3 levers. We got one guy who's the vice president of Scepter, and he's top echelon, and he's controlling the manufacturing. He also is the chair of the committee that for 10 or 11 years has been pretending they were going to fix it. No, really, they're going to get it done in 3 to 6 months. If you believe that, fine. I'm going to fight passionately against that. That's why I'm calling out Phil Monkton. Third, he's also, by golly, he's chairing the Manufacturing Association. He's the president of that. That's that thing, if you saw me pull it up, that was this tax IRS form. So I now know he's the president of the Manufacturing Association, putting out this false information, putting out the facts, and thinking he can buffalo and bullshit the general public because nobody will stand up to him.
But we have stood up to him. I have seen letters. I have seen people adamantly tell him that what he's putting up there is not true. He's trying to say flame arrestors do not work.
Right.
And I know that there is facts and information out there that say they do, from firemen, for example.
Right.
So how can he still be able to release this information knowing that it's completely wrong and false, and yet not make the changes?
This is why I'm so glad I get to talk to you, Steph, because you help me get my focus and you keep my energy and you keep me determined. This is what HR919 is stuck in. I'm trying to show you that when I'm spending all this time meeting with congressmen and their staffs, and they are bright, they are thoughtful, they are passionate. I've met amazing ones. I got to have 3 in-person meetings with congressmen this week. I think that's kind of unusual. That means that they're hearing, they're listening, they want to know the facts. But they're thinking they're supposed to believe their committees, their government regulatory bodies. They're confused why they're being told junk science. In fact, I just was given something about static electricity so erroneous, it was thrown out of court 12 years ago. I am disgusted to hear that it's even being brought back up. But imagine if you are a congressman or a staff member and you're trying to research stuff and somebody's handing you something like this. To be clear, there's no flame arrestor currently being marketed or sold that is proven to safely allow a portable consumer container to function properly. That makes you think it's really unsafe. Yet I'm saying, here's the other thing we're putting out from that committee. It's saying, here's all of these examples that are really on the market. None of them have ever failed. So they're commercially available, they're on products, they don't fail. Why is nobody calling you out for trying to claim this? Why are you trying to say that it's never been determined to be safe and efficient, it's just incorrect, it would be irresponsible and unsafe for the industry to implement the use of these devices? How do you say that and sleep at night? You are intentionally burning 4,000 people a year if you do not have a flame arrestor on there.
So does the science show that flame arrestors work?
Every time.
100% of the time.
100%. We've never had a documented case of failure. I come from Six Sigma. That would mean 4 defects per million opportunities. This is 20 sigma. There have been 0 defects and 2 billion opportunities over 200 years. I mean, we sell 1 million gas cans a year. Every one that doesn't have a flame arrestor, it's an IED. Why are we putting IEDs on consumer shelves? Why is anybody insuring, selling, manufacturing, transporting these?
So why are they, Margaret? Why?
I
What
think
is the
because
bottom
we've got
line
one
here?
bad person who's got all the power, and he's able to deceptively show people that if you believe him, it's one or the other. Either you believe Phil, or you believe the science, the engineer, the research, the logic, the efficacy. But if you want to, you can believe Phil. Phil Monkton has people that are paid lobbyists. In fact, I'll call out 2 that I think people should investigate. Please investigate Hal Stratton. Please look at Will Moschella. Watch what they've done when all of this was brought through NBC News, 60 Minutes, Dan Rather reports. I've watched all those news reports. 2008, 2011, I cried when I saw the 2011 report. First of all, it was very hard to find. I had to be told over and over again how to find it. It had been scrubbed. I want you to know that Stratton, he was a former commissioner of CPSC. So when you've got a former commissioner putting out this type of bad data, and he's an attorney, you're thinking, there's no way an attorney would put out something patently false, junk science, that put people in morbid fear for their lives. You know what? Why can't we charge him criminally? Why can't we sue Scepter? I mean, I don't have a litigation background. I don't have a drive for that. I'm not going to round people up for that. I want to do this where we're protecting everybody going forward. So I'm all about legislation, legislation, legislation. Do I need people that can push litigation? Yes. Am I inviting anybody that wants that to have a hold of all my data, facts, research? I have a stack. I'd be happy to share that. If you know anybody that's been hurt, injured, carries a scar, get in touch with Berkeley Engineering Research, because you guys do this sort of stuff. You're the ones that help people in litigation. You understand how to do that. That's why I come to work for you guys. I love to come here. So you're helping me catch up, you're helping me get my focus, and you're helping me try to get the message across more clearly. Like, I don't know how to make it any more clear than to tell you, we got Phil Monkton controlling 3 things that make the public unsafe. He's the vice president of Scepter, he's the chair of the ASTM committee, and he's also the president of the Manufacturers Association. If we could just call out those conflicts, if we could say he's not allowed to be the chair anymore, put in one of the PhDs from the committee. There's 2 or 3 PhDs on the committee that could be chairing it. Put one of them on. Put somebody that we can all trust, that understands. This is incompetent engineering. There should not be a product being sold without a flame arrestor to the general public. Kids in high school, I know 24 kids burned horribly because they were watching a science experiment and demonstration. Last summer, 12 preschoolers were all burned in Texas. Preschoolers watching a demonstration. Reno, Nevada, a couple years ago, 5 or 6 were burned at a discovery museum. Like, you take your kids to a discovery museum to learn about science. You don't take them there to get burned alive.
Well, there has to be some suits that were brought against
There have been.
Scepter.
Yeah.
And the only way change is going to happen, it seems, is if you hit their pocketbooks, right? Because the only reason there's no flame arrestors
How
on
about if we don't go for their pocketbooks? What if we try to just get Phil fired? Like, #fire Phil.
I love
If we fire Phil Monkton from Scepter, I think if we can get Phil Monkton out of the picture, the marketplace can breathe again. What is controlling and boondoggling our whole thing? One human being. So if you want to believe Phil, don't change anything, do nothing. That means you side with Phil. If you think this is wrong, if you can find a way in your heart to do something, please get behind HR919. We must pass HR919 to stop burning all of us. I think that we're at a very unsafe time in our world, and we do not need this product on our shelves, this in our family gatherings, this when our kids go to school. We need to show people what the risk is, but we also need to call out who's the real person holding it all back from healing itself. Our process should be better than this.
Oh, I agree. Now, you mentioned a video that you have.
Yeah.
Basically, a news report.
I'm happy to go to that on our next one, just because we've been talking longer than I thought we would. But I love you asking me questions. Let's try to do this more often, Steph, because you're a very good interviewer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.